Hello, disciples. As we near the end of the first week of Advent 2020, it's my sense that all across our church, we are all digging deep to find the depths of our spiritual reservoir. And if it is a bit dry, we're making the investment in time and spiritual practice to fill it up. Chalice Press published a devotional that I wrote for Advent this year called Imagining a New World. And one of the most familiar Advent texts that we have across all 3 years of the lectionary is Isaiah 11, that familiar image of what we call the peaceable kingdom. But it's far more than just that familiar montage with the wolf and the lamb and the lion and the cow lying peacefully in a meadow. Those first 10 verses of Isaiah 11 are, for me, a model for our movement for wholeness in a fragmented world. Remember that the prophet was trying to help the people imagine, in the midst of their oppression and despair, what the world would look like when the Messiah finally came, when God's reign came to the earth. Here's some important characteristics of what the prophet said that the Messiah would be like. That the Spirit of the Lord would be present, for without the Spirit, church, there can be no movement. We cannot judge only by what our ears hear and what our eyes see, but we must decide with equity and justice for the sake of all. Like the Messiah, righteousness and faithfulness must be what grounds us. And those who are natural enemies or even human-made enemies can coexist and live together when they understand each other's stories and ways. When we take that time, we can ensure that the most vulnerable are protected, when we ourselves are yielded to God's limitless love and the reign of God on the earth. And most importantly, we'll know if our imaginations are speaking actually to the kingdom of God, this peaceable kingdom, when we seek more knowledge of God, when we seek only to uplift, to honor and respect, not to hurt or destroy. They shall not hurt or destroy on all my holy mountain, God says to the prophet. The knowledge of the Lord begins with spiritual practices, prayer, Bible study, theological reflection. We must see this as a foundation for our movement. The anticipation of the reign of God must be built on a solid foundation. And only when we are grounded in God's Spirit, in a desire to know more of God, to follow Jesus' commandments, to love God and neighbor, to walk in God's limitless love and show that to all the world. Only then can we have the courage to imagine. Only then can we give ourselves the permission to change, to let go of the things that bind us, and to walk in freedom from fear of what happens when we make those changes. Now is the time, church. With the anticipation that we feel in Advent, let's have that courage to imagine. Let us walk in the light and love of God. Let us begin.